Hi, folks. Thanks for joining me at We Be Fishing, the viewable podcast right here on YouTube. Yep, we're a spinoff version of the B&T Catfishing Adventure channel, and we're glad to have you with us today. Waterfish actually seeing. Well, we're going to talk about that, even about color. But first, we're going to stop and ask you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. We'd love to have you as part of our growing family. Thank you so much. All right, well, I'm not a scientist or a biologist by any means, but I can read, and I have done some research on this subject. Now, there has been studies from the University of Illinois and in New York about fish. Now, for many years, we have thought that, or many years ago, they thought that fish were colorblind. All right. Well, we've moved past that, seeing the black and whites or maybe shades of gray. And we've come to realize that fish can actually see colors. That's right. They have special cones in their eyes, similar to humans, that allow them to see colors. Now, they don't have a wide spectrum on the same level as we do, but they also have some ultraviolet ultraviolet colors that they see that we cannot see. Well, that doesn't help us when we're fishing for them because we don't know what those colors are, but what we want to do is try and figure out the colors that we know that they like, so we can try and present those to them to get them to strike. Now, every fish, just like every species of animal and so on and so forth out there, is different. Now, for instance, we're going to talk about a couple species of fish today, and one being the largemouth bass, and then we're going to talk about catfish and where they're at with things. Now, largemouth bass have two cones in their eyes, and they have some favorite colors that they see. Now, the rest of the colors, they kind of fade out, or they may be more like shadows and things like that of different shades. Okay, maybe like somebody who is colorblind or has limited color spectrum. So that's the bass. Now, the catfish, believe it or not, has a little bit more ability to see colors than the bass fish, or the bass. And fishermen, I'm sure, are really surprised to hear that. For years and years and years, I myself fished for bass and crappie and so on and so forth, more, let's say, than I did catfish. And I would say that I would think for sure that they knew or could see far better as far as colors than, let's say, catfish. Now, catfish have the same cones like the bass, and like many humans, we have these cell-type cones or cone cells that allow us to see colors. Now, bass, like many other fish, have certain layers or a certain lens in their eye as well that allow them to see in low light. Now, we know catfish will a lot of times come up and they're in the middle of the water column or upper part, or they go on the flats during the warmer month and they're targeting fish. Now, they're doing that, folks, more by sight than smell or even movement. And that's shocking to a lot of people right there, because we think catfish go basically by smell or possibly by vibration. Now, we know they have ears. Now, they're not extended. They're actually covered, and it's right behind their eye sockets. And then they have the lateral type line that goes down their body, or they feel it in their body, the vibrations. And many people always have thought that it's either the smell or that vibrations through sound that the catfish are picking up, and they're targeting that. Now, come to find out, that's not necessarily true. Catfishermen are very visual fish when it comes to being, targeting what they're going to go after. So, doing and delving into this deeper over the last few days, I've really was surprised at some of the results I came up with as far as the colors these fish go for. Now, for instance, let's talk about the bass. Now, bass actually go for specifically, basically, two colors. Now, there's other shades that they go after as well. But primarily what they respond to most, let's see if you get this one right, is the color green. Okay, I can get that. And the color red. That's right. Green and red are what the two cones in the fish's eyes that they see on these largemouth bass. And those are the colors that they see better than anything else. Again, the bass do not have a wide spectrum of color. They do see, again, shades, but they specifically see the green and the red. And I believe chartreuse may be in there. Again, I would have to go back and look. Again, trying to juggle and keep up with a bunch of different species colors is kind of difficult, even though I did write and jot a few of those down. But now let's look at the catfish, who, again, as I said, they have a lens that allow them to see even in low light conditions. Now, that's not saying these catfish see well or at all, even in 50, 60 feet of water. But 20, 25, possibly 30 foot of water, if it's not too dirty and murky, those catfish potentially can see during the daytime when the light is trying to penetrate down into the water. So, wow, that's wonderful news that we can use to our advantage now that we know that. Now, some of the colors that, or the order, I guess, in which the catfish like the best is, number one, is blue. That's right. Shades of blue are its number one favorite. Now, chartreuse comes in at number two. Then we have black. That's right. They see black specifically. And they see pink. That's right. You know, a lot of things that we use when we catch catfish are none of those colors. And we may take a look at rethinking that and maybe changing, if nothing else, our line. Whether you spray paint some of your stuff, whether you spray paint your sinkers or your floats or whatever, but it may affect also the type of line rattles we use. For instance, a lot of you for Santee rigs will use the Zero Spooks or the fish looking rattle on your line. Now, we may decide to use one of those color rattles that the fish really prefers. Another thing, even if it's one of the line rattles that just spin around, we may decide to go with a color that they can see better. Again, now don't get me wrong, there's other colors that they see, and or like bass, they will see shades of colors, okay, or shades of black and white, okay, which may turn out to be more shadows and movement in that. But they respond mostly to the colors that I just mentioned: the blue, the chartreuse, the black, and the pink. Now, if you're using, like many of you guys have seen me do before on some of my catfishing rigs, where I'm doing a Santee rig or anything where I don't want a sinker or something to slide down to hit the hook or slam into my barrel swivel, then you see me using beads. So there we go. We've just now established other things that we can put on the line that might draw them over to our bait. Now that's where the scent comes in, and the, of course you've got the visual thing. You've got hopefully maybe a line rattle on there for sound and vibration or movement, and you've got the scent of your bait. Now, if color is going to help us pull those fish in and attract them even more to target those baits, then by all means, let's go with that. If it can give us an advantage, let's take it. All right. So there you go, folks. Today, I'm not going into every fish species out there in the freshwater world, but that gives you an indication of what's going on. Now, this information is easily accessible online, easy to find. Just do a little research on your own. If you're fishing for crappie, bluegill, what have you. You might be a musky fisherman or something like that, sauger, who knows? That information could be out there that could potentially help you to catch more fish. And as I've said many times before, we're always looking for an advantage to catch fish. If I find something new that can up my game 2, 3, 5%, then every time I find something new, my ability to improve my catch ratio goes up. And if you're a tournament fisherman, or you're somebody that just wants to brag to your friends that you beat them out while fishing the bank, you got that as well. But for some of us too, it may be you're trying to put food on the table and you need to make every trip out to the bank as successful as possible. Well, these tips right here may just help you do that. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this information, you find it useful, and it works for you. Again, I highly recommend you go out and do some more research on your own for the specific types of fish you're looking to catch. All right, well, thanks for joining me, guys. I appreciate it. Give me a thumbs up if you like this. Share it with your friends. We would also appreciate that. You guys, tight lines. We'll see you back here real soon, hopefully, at B&T, Catfishing Adventures, spin-off version, We Be Fishing. You guys have a wonderful evening.